been long, slow, and bloody. But 3 months after Ukraine's counteroffensive got underway, it is finally starting to bear fruit. Last week, troops in the south captured the small but significant town of Robotyne and may have broken the first and thickest line of Russian defences. They are now trying to advance beyond that line in an attempt to break a vital railway link between Russia and Crimea. Kiev's commanders are bullish, saying they expect Russian defences to be weaker from this point on and for the assault to gather pace. They are now in a race against time to reach their objectives before winter sets in and fighting becomes much harder. This is the story of how Ukraine's sluggish counterattack finally began to gather steam and how it might lead to a long-awaited breakthrough. This is the story of the battle for Robotyne. Kiev's counterattack in southern Zaporizhia Oblast started with a bang but resulted in a whimper. An attempt at a rapid advance south from the town of Orikhiv in early June produced a mangled pile of Western kit and little else. Not only did it fail to breach the first Russian line of defense, it got nowhere close, prompting a tactical rethink in Kiev. What followed were weeks of incredibly slow advances as troops ditched their vehicles to clear vast Russian minefields by hand, while artillery and drones duked it out overhead. But last week, that all changed. On August the 20th, Ukrainian troops entered the outskirts of Robotyne, a town just 6 miles south of their starting point, but which had, until then, remained frustratingly out of reach. 2 days later, they raised the Ukrainian flag over a school building and liberated some of the villagers. By the 25th, Russian war bloggers had begun to panic, reporting that dozens and possibly hundreds of Ukrainian vehicles and tanks had massed for a night assault. And by August the 28th, the Ukrainian military was claiming to have taken Robotyne in its entirety. That is significant, because the small town sits hard up against the first main line of Russian defences in the south. Kiev is claiming a breakthrough, and US General Mark Milley has also said that Ukrainian troops have crossed the first line of defence.
Russia has lost. They've lost strategically, operationally, and tactically, and they are paying an enormous price on the battlefield.
Others are more cautious, with war videos suggesting there is still fighting ongoing to breach the line. Either way, a Ukrainian commander called Skala, who led troops into Robotyne, told Reuters that the attack should gather momentum from here. Russian defences south of the first line are lighter and should be easier to break, he claimed, adding that his troops are already moving towards them.
І впевнений, що ми підемо швидше.
Ukraine is thought to have launched a three-pronged attack, southwest to the town of Novoprokopivka, south towards Orechy-Tuvate, and southeast towards Verbove. In response, Russia is thought to have pulled elite paratrooper units off its front lines in both north and south to try and slow the advance. soldiers of the feared 76th Guard Air Assault Division, sometimes described as Russia's best fighting unit, are thought to have been thrown into the fight. And that shows just how serious Ukraine's attack could become. To understand why, it is best to look at a map of the main railway lines and highways running across the south of Ukraine. These are now occupied by Russian forces and, taken together, form the so-called land bridge between Donbass and Crimea. With the Kerch Bridge now under constant threat of Ukrainian bomb and drone attacks, this is a vital supply route between Russia and its military units on the peninsula. Breaking it would threaten those units with collapse, which is precisely Ukraine's goal. Taking Robotyne and breaching Russia's first defensive line opens up the road to Tokmak, which is a major rail hub. Just getting Ukrainian artillery within range of the main station would break the rail line to Crimea, whilst also cutting off several important roads. And if Ukraine can breach the second line and take Tokmak, then it puts Melitopol within their gun sights. And that would sever the land bridge in its entirety. Winter is fast approaching, when the ground will turn to mush and make any further advances difficult, if not impossible. If Kiev's soldiers can reach Tokmak before the rains arrive, then they can cause havoc for Russia over winter before renewing their assault on its weakened armies in the spring. But if Putin's men can stop them short, then they can spend the cold, dark months reinforcing their lines before Ukraine begins its slow, bloody southward march once more. With Western weapons stockpiles running low and enthusiasm for the war waning, that could force Ukraine to make some extremely tough choices. But for now, the Ukrainians hold the advantage. If they can build momentum and turn their breach into a breakthrough, then it will instead be Putin and his commanders with their backs to the wall. And that is why all eyes are now focused on Robotyne, and why they will turn towards Tokmak in the coming weeks and months. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this.